juice for your brain? Muscle milk or strength?
Not a grill. Love me, Sam. Heck yeah. Wow. Big difference. She's smiling right back at us. But what for? No more work than yeah, I mean, brakes, steering, a whole bunch of work under the hood, nice facelift. I'd say we can probably drive this thing just about anywhere else. Yeah, the best part is it still has plenty of future growth potential. And speaking of that, it reminds me of another truck. Pretty big ideas. See what you're saying? What are you thinking? Let's just say we're thinking much bigger picture. It's hard to argue that the 4.9-liter inline-6 isn't one of the greatest engines ever made, especially when it comes to serviceability and durability. But, of course, it's only if you keep up all the maintenance. Like Joel said, it is inarguable that the Ford 300 has a place among all the great truck engines that have ever been made, but only if you take care of it. Now, that's what we're going to be taking care of here right now is the problems that we have found under the hood, a couple of things that just come with routine maintenance, and a couple of things that were just known issues for these trucks. So crusty. I don't think these have been out for a while. We'll go ahead and take this winch controller out of here because I don't think it's rebounding out of the winch. A whole lot of good, especially out on the bumper, right? I really hope that nobody ever tried to use that. I noticed it's only mounted with 2 bolts too, so I think the winch would probably rip off the bumper long before it pulls this thing out of a mud pit. Overall, looks like our plug wires are in pretty good shape, but since we're in this deep, might as well go ahead and swap them out as well. Don't be throwing stuff, that's my thing. My bad. Did your signature move on you? Plugs are unfouled, the fans are corroding. Definitely been a minute since they've been changed. Might not be a bad idea to replace this one. I was looking at this, Eric. It'd be fun to pull this thing out of here and put it in like a 55 or 56 Ford F-100. Oh, yeah. It might be kind of fun in a unibody, too. But then what would we put in this? I think I have a couple ideas. Oh, God. Well, guys, we had ourselves another rust belt casualty in work, if you will. Basically, what happened was I went to go pop off the distributor cap. The little screws holding it on, they were actually so rusted out, the place broke in half. And while trying to extract those screws, I ended up breaking the housing right off the distributor. So we went ahead and swapped out the entire distributor assembly altogether, which is not necessarily a bad thing since, we're already this far into it, right, buddy? Right. One thing we want to make note of before pulling your distributor is the position of your rotor. Now in this case, it was sitting on the number 4 cylinder. So, of course, the distributor has to go back into that same position. If not, your firing order is just not going to be right. Your engine's going to fire radically. And for you guys at home that are taking notes, the firing order on one of these old inline 6s is 1, 5, 3, 6, 2, 4. And if you do forget to check your rotor position before pulling the distributor, what you can do is spin your engine over until it's at top dead center, and you set your rotor on the number 1 piston. Now that we're moving on to reassembly, I've got all of our new belt drive components here in the car. Now, I'm going to explain a little bit about why we're replacing all of this, starting with the alternator. These trucks were prone to overcharging issues, which could obviously cause a bunch of problems in the electrical system and burn out the plugs that go into the alternator itself. Now, this one's been replaced before, so it's probably had that remedy, but it wasn't charging fully when we pulled this truck in, which could be in part due to the fact that the battery was 7 years old and wouldn't really hold a charge anyways. But if you got a bad battery, that's going to burn out your alternator even quicker. So we're replacing that just to be safe. Next, we've got our belt tension. It's always a good idea to replace this if you've got the opportunity, because the springs inside can wear out and lead to inefficiency in your belt drive and possible belt slippage. Plus, this one, I went ahead and took the pulley off just to check it out, and we have quite a bit of play in there, and that would be a problem not too far down the road. Next, we've got our power steering pump. This thing was making a ton of noise when we pulled this truck in here, and Fords of this era are just notorious for power steering pump issues anyways. This one, now that we've got the pulley off, it barely moves at all. Now, the new one spins nice and easy. That's what it's supposed to do. So, we're going to go ahead and get this stuff installed, and should quiet things down and get everything working quite a bit better. You know, all in all, could be worse. I think we've had worse. I know I've definitely had worse experiences with 30-year-old Fords. You know what I do like about Ford trucks? What's that? Is all the heritage involved with it. So it seems like whoever buys a Ford truck, he only did it because his daddy owned a Ford truck. His daddy owned a Ford truck. His daddy owned a Ford truck. It just kind of runs on down the line. Mm-hmm. I'm too stubborn to admit that Chevy is better. Coming up, we raise the ridge. Max Fresh, this old Ford. Whatever that means. She's smiling right back at us. The root of every argument is one of three things. Closeness, ideal, rejected skill, power.
You need to meet me in the middle with all this intensity.
Or respect. I'd like to sleep with a bunch of women.
Did I just hear that right? I am questioning whether we should be together.
It's like a real life telenovela. You never know what could happen.
There is potential for love.
Would you like to end your marriage? Tonight.
Double down with 6 crystal geysers. Double down with 6 crystal geysers. Talent Source Cave. Folgers and Muscle Milk. Folgers for the brain.
We have done a ton of work under the hood and the 94 F-150. It's a lot of maintenance and fixing some stuff we found along the way. Now that it's ready to get back on the road, running right, you gotta make it look good with a quick, easy.
Muscle Milk for strength.
That's right. It doesn't do that. Looks like they sprayed on a little bit of a rattle can overhaul on the front rear bumpers. And we have a little bit of oxidation on the grill, headlight bezels, and the headlights. So we're just going to go ahead and swap all the stuff out with a nice kit that we got from the guys at Sun Racing. Sweet. swapping out both headlights for a brand new set. Depending on what year, make, and model you're running, these things can get really expensive. Luckily for you guys at home that may be on more of a budget, there are some solutions. You can get yourself a headlight restoration kit like the one we got. It comes with pretty much all the pads you're going to need to get this job done. You're going to start off with 500 grit, work our way up to 800, 3,000, and then rubber pad is on coming. Now, ideally, you want to use a variable speed drill so that you can control it a little bit, and you don't want to dig in. Kind of shaving off the top layer of oxidation. You can feel it kind of get nice and soft. But it looks like you still got some shiny spots, and we're going to keep going a little farther. Alright, looks like we got most of our nasty yellowness off here, so we're going to go ahead and step back to 800. Now, the 800 grit isn't necessarily removing any of the oxidation anymore. It's just trying to sand out all the 500 grit strands. Since the 800 isn't quite as abrasive, you can go a little bit faster on your drill. Alright, our last step is to add the compound. You do not need a whole lot of this. Just enough to give it a little bit of abrasion, but also allow that pad to glide across the head. As you're doing this, the compound is going to give the headlight a little bit of a haziness. So it's going to keep going until all that haziness is gone. So it's about there. You know what? We're not going to call that good. Let's go ahead and peel this tape off and do it side by side. Yep, I like that a whole lot better. One less.
Anything is possible. I don't know how this is gonna play out.
End up successful. Disrespectful. Everything.
Love freaks me out, but I.
We're getting ahead of it. We're actually going to make sure everything's drained before we try and pull the transmission. Over 5 seconds into work, and I already made a mess. It looks like the inside of this transmission might be a little bit of a mess based on the magnet on the back of this drain plug. Phew. Nope. Nope. Sometimes you can use a large size wrench as a breaker, or as a cheater on the backside of your socket wrench. So, I'm going to go cry into a pillow. Honestly, right now, a little bit inside. I'll give it one more try. Double ring. At least this one not as rusty as the last one. Hey, much better. At least this thing's still old enough to be mostly mechanical. Not a whole lot of electrical stuff to disconnect. She's definitely loose. Got the Momentum 5000. Yeah, we're off the input shaft. Step out. Ooh, yeah. That clutch has never been changed. Pretty impressive, though. 125,000 miles on factory clutch. Had a good run. Good enough. Find the one piece of drive on the floor? Of course. Everything's in our way. Now that we've got all of our old parts out, we're going to go ahead and do a little bit of side-by-side comparison with the brand new Duralast parts that we got from the AutoZone Pro website. Now we're going to start here with the flywheel. And as you can see, we've got some hot spotting around the inside, which tells us that this thing has been overheated a little bit. And you can also feel some ridges in a couple spots around the inside and the outside, which means that the friction disc has been digging in there a bit. Now moving over to the pressure plate, we've got kind of the same thing. You can see some hot spots around the edges and on the surface itself here. Just a little bit of blue through there. Got a little bit of ridge on here, just like with the flywheel, so safe to say this has probably not been replaced. Now, moving on to the friction disc or the clutch disc itself, you can see that we've got a ton of dust buildup in here, and all that dust is just going to cause slippage as it sits in there. But one thing that Duralast is really good about is re-engineering weak points like that on their replacement parts. So looking at this new clutch compared to the old one, you've got these pads on the friction surface that are going to help eject the dust out through these slots and help with heat control to prevent hot spotting. You can also see, instead of having individual plates between the discs here, it's got one solid piece which is going to help it hold up even better over time. And on top of that, these springs are a little bit sturdier than the old ones. Then moving on to the last piece of the clutch system, we've got our throwout bearings. Now, on our old throwout bearing, we have an exposed spring that's covered in all kinds of rust and buildup, and that's never good. So we're swapping it out with a new one that has a boot over it to prevent that from happening. Now, clearly, this is going to be a huge upgrade over the stuff that we pulled out. So I'm going to go get this dropped in the transmission, and we'll get the clutch kit put on the back of the engine, get everything put back together.
Coming up, we tune into some salty old bricks and help steer this Ford in the right direction.
A lot of dirt.
The root of every argument is one of three things: closeness, ideal, rejected skill, power,
You should meet me in the middle with this intensity.
or respect. I'd like to sleep with a bunch of women.
Did I just hear that right? I am questioning whether we should be together.
It's like a real-life telenovela. Never know what could happen.
There is potential for love.
Would you like to end your marriage tonight?
No.
The root of every argument is one of three things: closeness, ideal, rejected skill, power,
You should meet me in the middle with this intensity.
or respect. I'd like to sleep with a bunch of women.
Did I just hear that right? I am questioning whether we should be together.
It's like a real-life telenovela. Never know what could happen.
There is potential for love.
Would you like to end your marriage tonight?
No.
Mistakes we can make as a commuter is assuming that because the brakes on a daily driver are working, means that they are also in working order. As you can see on this truck, that may not necessarily be the case. We took this thing out for a few test drives, and we had no reason to think that there was any issues with the brakes, but as you can tell from all this corrosion, these things need to be addressed. Now, we found this truck in one of the rust belt states, which, as many of you guys know, there's a lot of salt up there, which is probably why this thing has so much excess corrosion. Problem with that is it causes a lot more wear and tear in your components because it kind of softens the metal. So take this truck as a prime example of why it's good to go ahead and zip your wheels off once in a while and physically inspect your brakes just to make sure they're working order. But before we get these swapped out, I do have to remove this locking hub assembly. As luck would have it, all these screws are completely rusted out, so just get rid of the bad boys out. Now, you don't have to drill all the way through the screws themselves. I'm just using this 3/8 drill bit to pop off the heads of the screws so I can get the hubcap off. Yep. We've been using PVC brakes out of this shop for a really long time. And many of you at home may associate them with a lot of high-performance applications, including drifting, autocross, off-roading, etc. But I bet you didn't know that they also offer an entire line of OE-style replacement components for your daily driver. Now I just blew oval up here. Now this particular set we have is the Ultimax rotor with the Geomat style coating. And that is going to significantly cut down on all the corrosion. We've already mentioned all the issues up north of the rust belt, but down here in the south of what we call the sweat belt, well, all the humidity causes just as much headache. Now we also opted for the EBC red stud brake pads. These have a little bit of a break-in coating on them, and what that's going to do is evenly wear them in nice and slow on your rotors. So within the first 500 miles, you're not going to have any squeaks, all the vibration and noise is going to go away, and it's going to last a whole lot longer.
Now that Joel's got the brakes taken care of, it's time to move inward and check out our steering components. I hopped on my phone, got on the AutoZone Pro app, and ordered some new steering components from Duralast. Now, driving this thing in here, it definitely had a little bit of play in the steering, which is pretty normal for an old truck like this. But after further inspection, we noticed that the boots on the tie rod ends here have some cracking, and they're starting to split open, which can allow some moisture to get in there and cause rust, even with all the grease that's in there. So, always a good idea to check it out, just to be safe. Now, let's get this stuff out of here. I always like to start by getting all the cotter pins out of the way first, just in case you gotta deal with one that's a little bit more stubborn than expected. Work that out later. I'm not fighting anything. Nope. A lot of dirt. This pickle fork is actually for an air hammer, but I have a regular hammer and I think that works just fine. See? Easy. Starting a different arm. Slide it nice and smooth. Oh, there we go. We're just going to get everything kind of hand tight. On these particular Fords, when you're replacing steering linkage, it can be a little difficult with it up in the air to try and see how straight your tires are sitting, just because that twin I-beam drops so much when you get all the pressure off of it. But before I can tighten the clamps down, I need to adjust them so that the bolts are sitting on top of the split in the adjuster sleeve. And that's what's actually going to apply the proper type of pressure to close that up and keep these things in place. These collars are really tight on the sleeve. Open them up. I usually just use a pair of pliers. You might need to get a little bit more creative if they're super tight. But all we're looking to do is just adjust this around so that the opening of the collar sits in the same place as the opening on the sleeve. And we'll finish tightening those up later once it's back on the ground and we make our adjustments. So all we've got left to do here before we drop this thing back down is get a closer preset on our alignment, get these tie rod ends greased up. I don't want to overdo it because you can't actually burst them or break the seals. With all that done, we go ahead and clear everything out from underneath, get this back on the ground, and get our alignment set. Up next, under the hood and into the bay to repair some recurring troubles with OBS pulls.
Best overall automotive brand for the second year in a row. This is the one. Consumer Reports top subcompact SUV, the Subaru Crosstrek and Crosstrek Hybrid. Welcome to the...
That's the winter. Experience it for yourself with tickets. $1,000 cash complimentary to your meals payments, like Lincoln payments. Colors that make you rethink everything. Our best lineup is here. Closed. Old school online security systems make you half protected. Get NordVPN with the next gen antivirus. Avoid online scams, malware, and phishing. Get NordVPN today. You play by the rules. And things happen. Prices keep climbing up every month. A new expense. And the debt adds up. So how do you face it? It starts with a call and a plan. At National Debt Relief, we'll negotiate with your creditors so you pay less than you owe. And just like that, we're back on track. When debt happens, we're here to help you take action. And this is where your new chapter. Call or visit GoNDR.com to get started.
We love being outside, but the sun makes our deck and patio too hot to enjoy.
Thanks to our new Sun Center retractable line, we can select full sun or instant shade.
It's 20 degrees cooler, protection from harmful rays and sun glare.
When you call, we'll issue a special $350 discount certificate with your free on-the-night gift kit. Get your annual Sun Center for less than $1,200. Add LED lighting for evening enjoyment. Life is better under a Sun Center. When allergies throw a sucker punch, the power of Claritin D punches back harder. Get fast and powerful relief of your worst symptoms, like nasal congestion. Claritin clears. Sweet new boots, man. Where'd you get them from? Hey, I got them from. I think you're delicious. Hey, you got the new Yeti cooler. Yeah, man. I got this thing here. Why is everybody's voice now? Tell me you got the thing. Yeah. I got a room. It's nowhere. All right, let's go. What?
I'm retired. I was a second grade teacher for 33 years.
And now you find yourself on the pickleball court. So, Bertha, why did you choose Physicians Mutual?
Take people off. Stay on your side. I can look any doctor that accepts Medicare. Customer service is always reliable. You speak to an actual person.
Real people, real coverage. Start today at physiciansmutual.com. Physicians Mutual. Physicians Mutual.
Weeknights on the Weather Channel. Everyday heroes. Extraordinary stories.
It's like that's what we're seeing. So there's danger for us here.
The outcome of this, we're going to play Washington Water Salvage tonight in town. Only on the Weather Channel. Washington, D.C. last night, man, it was wild. You can barely see the city. The rain was coming down in sheets and going sideways here. This is a tornado warning storm that blasted through this area. Numerous warnings in place yesterday at this time. It was just a major headache. It was actually a little frightening at times as well. We also had the heavy rain that was really pouring down in other parts of the country, including in Colorado. Mud-covered roads in Custer County here. The debris flows in Beulah, where the Aspen Acre Fire Birch Car is there. You can clearly see the muddy slurry that's just
flows downstream. Awful stuff here for sure. Now, the past 24 hours in this hilly terrain and the mountainous terrain of the Rockies has been very rough for us, of course. And you look at some of the rain that we've had, particularly heavy, between Pueblo and Denver, and then it's a little bit harder to gauge sometimes up into the mountain because the radar doesn't pick up every single drop that falls because of the impediment of the mountains themselves. The radar can't penetrate through those mountains, so it's harder to see exactly how much falls out here in the higher elevations, of course. But if we zoom down in around the Pueblo area, we have had issues here. And right along 25, either side of that, we've had roughly an inch of rain, but a lot of times it just comes down in one big bucket full all at once. It causes problems for us. Over the last 7 days, we've had periods of heavy rain across the Four Corners. That has included portions of Arizona, New Mexico, but in particular, it has been Colorado. In Utah, a lot of places here have been very dry. Most of the year, honestly, very, very hot, including right there in Salt Lake City. But the North American monsoon, began in June. June 15th is when it typically starts and then runs through the summer. Peaks in July and August, and has brought us some rain. There are a lot of places where you'd love to get more. Arizona, you're always begging for more. I know that. Most of about half the annual precipitation happens during the monsoon season, and it has to definitely include flash flooding. We know that for sure. Lightning, sometimes lightning triggered wildfires, but also some dust storms. And the typical move that you see. We see those all the time in the Valley of the Sun, right? This is a look at the high-resolution future radar. You can see more storms short-term here, at least in Colorado. They pop back up again tomorrow afternoon. In particular, Colorado and New Mexico. Not as much in Utah and in Arizona as the energy is a little bit farther off to the east here. And on Friday, a lot of the rain begins to back off here. We'd love to get more, of course. We'd love to hold off on the flooding, but get more rain because we're suffering through drought right now. Even portions of Colorado include exceptional drought, the highest level that you can attain. Now, a new video from Monday where the Appleton, Menasha, Wisconsin tornado generated what was called a medio tsunami. Wow. Occurs when a strong tornado or an abrupt pattern or, drop in pressure very rapidly. Strong thunderstorms can also cause this, rapidly displacing the water on a lake or some other body of water, creating a localized tsunami-like wave. And that's just stunning, right? I mean, it is. You can see the leading edge of it even. It literally looks like a tsunami on the lake. Now, obviously, these are not caused by earthquakes, and they're usually a little less intense than the earthquake-triggered tsunamis, but it can be as large as 8, 9, 10 feet. Wow, and that would depend on the coastline. Just show you, listen, Mother Nature's in charge. Really cool to see how even just weather in the atmosphere, I guess that's a geese or some sort of bird, duck, I'm not sure, it's fluttering their wings. They're like, what the heck is this? It almost came up too fast, right? It almost happened too quickly. Well, there's the advantage that they can do air or water. They have to go ground. Yeah. All right, let's talk about the threat for severe storms. Obviously, we're still picking up the pieces there in Wisconsin. That was a major event there in the Appleton area, Menasha. That was an EF3 tornado with winds estimated over 140 miles per hour. Isolated tornado possible here in the Dakotas, down to the plains as we go into tomorrow. More likely a damaging wind threat. Storms will be isolated to scatter. We'll see them even in the morning. We'll watch maybe a few strong storms here into Nebraska. Those will shift east. Things kind of reloading as we get into the back half of the day. So certainly by dinner time, storms building here across the Badlands of South Dakota, getting into the Sandhills there in Nebraska. Could have more of a pretty intense line of storms, or maybe a cluster of thunderstorms. We call it an NCD, mesoscale convective cyclone of sorts. These are common in the Midwest as we go into the summer months, and that can certainly pack a punch not only with thunder and lightning, very heavy rainfall, but even strong damaging winds. Some of this even making it into the Twin Cities as we get to your Friday morning commute. So if you don't fly into or out of Minneapolis, St. Paul early Friday morning, could certainly have some delays. Flash flooding, of course, we're going to deal with the kind of rain that these storms could produce. That will be a possibility from South Dakota into the plains. And rainfall could be heavy in spots, pockets of 2, 3, and even 4+ inches in northern Iowa, southern Minnesota, and the Dakotas.
Same-day delivery, for free, for real. Remember, see more at Lowe's.
My husband Dean is always always worried about his diabetes. He was afraid that once he reached retirement, he wouldn't be able to enjoy it. Forgetting Dexcom G7 is put Dean in control of his health. Wherever we go, he can easily manage his sugar levels and make sure he's staying in range. Dexcom G7 has given us confidence in the future, wherever it takes us.
Where to next?
I was tired of sitting on the sidelines. Now, thanks to Jointivium, I'm back in the swing of things. Wait, $7 for a refill?
Gotta check Single Care. Just look up your prescription, show the coupon at the pharmacy, and save.
Really?
Really, Single Care crushes the cost of my prescription, almost as much as I'm crushing jam.
Unbelievable. See what more people are saving with Single Care. Contact us to try to lower prices, fixes, and discounts. No one guys named Chad.
Hi, Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. Are you looking for a beach read this summer? May I suggest your big wireless film? It's got suspense, mystery, and slightly flat, emotional arc, and a shocking twist where you realize you've been overpaying the entire time. It's basically Just Ask even with roaming charges. Fortunately, though, Mint story is better. Every plan, $15 a month, even unlimited. That's it. Happy ending. 0 tears. Spoiler. It's only one page. It's more of a novella, I guess. Truth be told, I do not read.
There's my dad. He says Ron Harlow is amazing. It has to be. I asked to go to the water park and get ice cream. He must have saved a lot of money because he just said yes. All the parts your car will ever need, Roccano. I'll give you 1/5 of my cookies for 1/3 of your pizza. Don't look.
Best overall automotive brand for the second year in a row. This is the one. Consumer Reports top subcompact SUV, the Subaru Crosstrek, a Crosstrek hybrid.
Welcome to the all-day sweat test. It's secret clinical versus ordinary anniversary. Let's go. You got this. Final push. Nice work. Looks like Secret's the winner. With 100-hour protection and 100-degree heat, this deal won't quit on you. Stay fresher under pressure.
It's not exactly a watch party, but nothing to watch. Good thing Walmart Express delivery comes in as fast as an hour.
1 hour. Who knew?
There it goes.
Let's take the battery case outside.
Guys, Cooler 101. It doesn't refill itself.
Prices is vertical, man.
Walmart delivers that fast.
Who knew? I say one, you say all. One. I say.
So, margarita. And that was the moment right there that a nearly 400-year-old historic mill gave way to the floodwaters in the Hudson Valley, New York today. This has stood in this safe spot since the 1640s, but today's rain was more than it could withstand, unfortunately. Well, we know that the flooding in New England, just one of the threats of your follow for you tonight here on Weather Unfiltered. Appreciate you staying with us. I'm Mike Bettis. I'm Chris Pruitt. July ending with a bang from flooding here in the Northeast to severe storms in both North Florida, South Georgia, that area, and then the Northern Plains.
There's a lot going on, of course. There's no question about that. In addition to that, we've got a lot of heat as well, and a heat wave, the second one of the season. We still have a lot of flood worries, though, in the Northeast. We're getting a lot of heavy rain. That's also encountering, some very urban areas. So like a Boston or a Hartford or Albany tonight is going to be at risk. A lot of different areas.
Constant travel delays, not as bad as yesterday, but that's still problematic in Boston and some of the New England airports. Speaking of which, let's take you out to Boston here this evening, where the kind of rain cool, we got a lot of low clouds, and the rain hasn't been overly heavy, so we haven't had too much flooding, but it's just been steady. Very cloudy, gray day today. It's got their temperatures